All right. Good day and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So today I'm recording in the evening East Coast time here because thanks to daylight savings time, it literally feels like evening because the time changes and all of a sudden it's dark out at only 6 o'clock p.m. Whereas a month ago, I was mountain biking at 6 o'clock without headlamps on. So it gives you an idea how much I love daylight savings time. But that's not the point of today's podcast. We are streaming this live like we always do in Live the Fuel in the Facebook world. And for newer followers out there, a reminder, we care a lot about helping you find new ways to help balance and create more success in life. Specifically, the tagline for the show is we fuel your health, business, and lifestyle. I found those three domains of life to be struggled exponentially by many, many people. So if we can help you balance them, figure out some more success, have at it. So let's jump in. We got a new guest co-host for you tonight. This gentleman actually is coming from another country. We'll catch you up on it. He and I were just connecting before the show. I actually got married up his way, so to speak. But let me give you a quick background. This gentleman might care a little bit more about me than about the quality of life and helping people figure that out. He actually spent over 20 years in both the Army as well as SWAT team leader in, I love this, Canine Training Unit. We're big dog lovers here. My wife is a veterinary doctor, and we have a tripod Coonhound because we had to save him from cancer 2 years ago. But we'll get into that in a second here because throughout his career, he's always had a deep passion for health, as am I, and how it can actually impact people's lives. And it's literally a lot of the fundamentals behind Live the Fuel and what we stand for. And then, so obviously years later, through his efforts and to help his wife combat health conditions and more, he created a company that we'll talk a little bit about today called PureLife Organics as well. So without further ado, Todd Lamb, sir, welcome.
Scott, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate the invite and the opportunity to share some time with your audience.
Yeah, so you're a fellow health and fitness buff. I'm going to go with buff because you look at a little more filled out than I am right now. So my wife's like, hey, can you put the firefighting body back on before I knew you? Like, give me another 5-10 pounds of muscle back. And I was like, never happy, never.
It's always, listen, it changes from season to season for me as well. Oddly enough, for me, it seems like wintertime's a time that I start focusing way more on putting on some size and increasing a bit of the volume. So
yeah. And that's gonna be me because we have a large garage out back, and during this whole COVID transition, it gave me an excuse to invest more. So I've ordered a lot more bumper plates because I have a lot of background on CrossFit. And so I literally built my own mini CrossFit gym out there. And so there's no excuse to not throw that extra 5 to 10 pounds of muscle on for the winter season. So, so good. I see you struggle with the same seasonal shift as I like to say. So I tell people all the time, like I'm a big skier. I spent 11 years ski race coaching down here, my free time as well. And actually, I tell people, if you throw another 5-10 pounds of good weight on, muscle mass, you actually go down the hill faster. So
yeah, it's a little more weight going down over the snow for sure.
Yeah. So by the way, so I hinted at in your intro, another country. So you air from specifically what area again?
I'm on the west coast of Canada in a small community of about 300,000 called Victoria. And so we're on an island, in fact. So it's a bit of a trick.
There's something unique about your island. Is it the wildlife or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so diverse. I mean, one day you can be looking at whales and the next day you can be crossing paths with a grizzly bear or Roosevelt elk. It's absolutely as Old English as you want it to be, coupled with very rustic. So it's a very unique community for sure.
That's pretty wild, man. So have you always been up there?
I haven't. I was born and raised in Edmonton, Alberta, so pretty close to about 3 hours away from where you got married.
Yeah.
And then, it was just too damn cold in Alberta. And so Canada on the West Coast here, it's very much like Seattle's climate, a little less rain than Seattle, but we rarely get snow. And so
years ago, well, my corporate days before firefighting, one of my last careers, I was a analyst with the T-Mobile Corporation, and their headquarters is down outside of Seattle there. And I actually had to the brains enough to listen to people and saying, hey, one of these, I was always flying out there every quarter to meet out there because I was always based here on the East Coast. Yeah. And they said, you should stay the weekend and go do some hiking on Rainier or do some treks. And a colleague of mine is like, hey, man, we're going up to Victoria. I'm like, for what? And he said, listen, Seattle's not everything, man. Like we're so close to the border. You got to spread your wings a little bit. So great colleagues who actually understood the importance of taking advantage of how close they were, to Canada, and obviously all the options you guys have up there. So
yeah, I mean, I literally look across the water from my house at the San Juan Islands. So we see the U.S. right out our window. So
yeah, the north, well, what we call the Northwest here. I don't know what you guys refer to yourselves, but that area for us, as far as North America, absolutely majestic, beautiful. Yes. I tell people all the time, if you can ever get a chance to get up there, it's just lovely. I don't know what better way to put it.
It's powerful for sure.
Yeah. So how long have you been on the island now?
Almost 25 years, actually. I came out off and on between the ages of 20, and then I finally settled at 25, and I'm turning 50 this year. So
all right,
it'll be 25 years. So I'm longer in British Columbia than I have been in Alberta. So I'm officially a British Columbian now.
Well, I turned 43 in September, so age is only a number. And actually tomorrow I'll be mountain biking with a good friend of mine who just turned 50. So we're going to do celebrate his 50th by ripping some trail on the mountain bikes. So,
that's awesome.
I'm sure you could tell behind me, there's skiing and mountain biking art. I just redid the home studio and decided I'm going to surround myself with my favorite things and motivation. So, yeah. So the Army history, the SWAT history, was that all on the island as well, or was that mixed up a little bit too?
Yeah, so the military for sure. I was out east in Ontario at a special service base called Petawawa out there, where I did my basic engagement. Then once I got out, I came out to the West Coast. So between here and the West Coast, but all my time here on the island with the police department here.
Awesome. And so I always like to clarify things. Whenever I talk to people from other areas, I want to understand more. So when you say Army, what is Army for you guys up there? Is it like us here?
There's 3 branches. Yeah, very, very much the same. There'd be your Air Force, your Navy, and Army. You guys have a few more branches, but for us, the Army consists of basically land forces. And then there's sub trades within those land forces. So infantry, you can be a mechanic, you can be an engineer, you can be whatever is comprised of the land forces. And for me, that I was in the infantry.
Okay. And then you did full, like I know here, if you're doing an Army, usually doing at least 4 to 8 years minimum. Some guys go like true career and they're doing 20 years. Like what was your role?
For us, it's 3, a basic engagement. And so I finished up my basic engagement because I knew even back then that I always wanted to get on a police department. And so if I had have re-signed, I felt like that would have taken me almost outside of a window for applying to the police department at the age that I wanted to get on.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, yeah. I mean, I see the same thing here. Usually if you have a military training, military background, it just shows you, number 1, you can stick to a programming. 2, you have no problem following leadership and directive. And 3, it just makes a natural progression into things, any kind of first responder role. I've met a lot of great EMS, EMT former military. The people I fought fire with, former military. So obviously police, same thing. It's just, they feed well into each other.
It's a very disciplined lifestyle, and often what's produced out of those trades and that kind of lifestyle is self-starting, and those are what organizations look for. You don't want to have to be babysitting, people day in, day out. There's enough work that needs to be done. They need to be able to work autonomous, good decision making, and for the most part, people have a decent strength of character that have been committed to their country and their communities.
Yeah, there's 3 words I ended up getting tattooed onto my ribs after serving as a hotshot, and I took them very seriously, which is duty, respect, and integrity. Those were 3 basic fundamentals of like, if you don't know it yet, you will know it very well as you progress in that role, in that position. And I was only a hotshot for 2 years. There's just people who choose to do that the rest of their lives. spent 10, 15 years beating the crap out of themselves in that role. And that's why I was telling you before I started the call here that the book is coming. And because I just want to tell a bit of what I took away from it, the transformation, the discipline, as you hinted at. Like my wife says, she's like, you're a little OCD sometimes. You got to dial it back a notch. And I'm like, it's hard when, granted, this is 10, 11 years ago when I served, but I can't break it. I was already, it was our lifestyle, like staying organized, staying functional. Like I literally, there's a term I'm going to put in the book. It says, part of the term is like, get your shit dialed. I mean, it was like, you got to get dialed in. That we're always throwing that out there. I don't know if that's ever in your vernacular up there, but like your stuff is dialed in, you're dependable, your peace of mind is there. Yeah.
It is. And, it's a requirement, certainly around tactics, any sort of critical incident response. You've got to be, squared away, and that is, or dialed in. That's, we use that term interchangeably. So yeah, people who have served know it's critically important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so obviously that carries over into police, right? So I got to geek out. I love getting into people's backgrounds because it makes so much more sense when you fast forward into what they're doing today or what they transformed. We're going to get to that, but the SWAT thing, the canine thing, that's cool. Like number one, because my wife's a large animal veterinary doctor, so she specializes in equine for horses. But then she also is a doctor of chiropractic for animals and she balances both equine and does a lot in the dog world as well. And she's actually worked on a couple of canine dogs. So it's interesting because I'm like, are you afraid to work on a canine dog? She's like, no, they're very well trained. Their officer, I don't know if you're going to call it their teammate, because technically the
handler
dog is an officer, right?
No, so the handler, but canine work, I mean, I was fortunate early on in my career. I expressed an interest in the canine unit. And so after 2.5 years general duty, I went over into the canine unit, got my first dog, ended up washing that dog. I was reteamed with my second dog, who was just the most majestic and incredible animal I've ever observed. There's very few that have the drive to work that he had, and the clarity in the work. And so by that, I mean, when a dog's in a bite, are they clear? Can they still listen to commands? And that kind of thing, because you can have dogs that don't have good balance. Their drives, whether it's prey drive.
Oh, so once that bite clicks in, they're shutting out all else.
Yeah, they're like sharks.
Okay.
And there's lots of those out there, and they certainly have, a purpose, more so I would say in the military side of things. But you definitely want clarity in the work. And this dog was just super clear. He could be, taking a beating, and if you outed him, he'd out and recall. He was just I tell people all the time, if you ever want to do something amazing in your life, it's track another human being with a dog. It's the most exhilarating thing I've ever done.
Well, now, so let's pause on that. So why do you say it's most exhilarating? Is it because, like, for me, as soon as you said that, in my brain, I'm like, is it taking you back to I don't want to say prehistoric type of concept, like the track?
Exactly what it is.
Okay.
It's primal. It's primal. Like you are watching this animal hunt, and you're hunting as a team, and you're going through these areas of urban cities and towns, over fences, through backyards. You can't see anything. You're relying on that dog's nose, and if he happens to lose it, to feed him into an area, or cast him is what we call, to reacquire it and be able to read that he's on that same track. And when a track turns to a trail, when their nose is deep, they're tracking, and when their head comes up, they're trailing, which means you're getting closer. And he starts to yip a little bit, that it's coming. And then when he apprehends the bad guy at the end of that, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, I was to say a completed mission has got to feel absolutely amazing. We have an English red tick coonhound. So coonhounds, very strong noses. And before we took his leg, actually, even though we had to take his leg off from cancer, as a tripod, he still tries to chase the deer. And I'm like, dude, like, number one, he just turned 12. So it's,
oh, wow.
he took his leg off at 10 and we were already worried if he was going to survive. And he did. He beat it, beat kidney failure from the drugs, from the surgery, beat it all. And he's still in spaz.
Yeah.
But he used to go mountain biking with me. And I had to be
wow.
careful because if he smells wild game like a deer, there's two different types of barks. And if I all of a sudden hear a high pitched bark, I immediately have to reach for my remote because I'd leave a shock collar on. I never had to really use it. But if I hear that higher pitch yell, I'm like, oh God, he smells a deer. I got to check him quick, just make sure he doesn't run off.
and that's, that's being a good handler and understanding what that communication means. It's their ears, it's their tail. It's, for some dogs, hackles, it's the sound of the bark, a defense versus a prey bark, it's very, very different stuff, but you have to know that.
Now, did you guys use traditional? I mean, I want to say traditional. Maybe it's traditional. You can clarify me. Are German Shepherds the traditional breed for all canine, or do you guys use something different?
We used, we've been exposed to Mals as well, but we use Shepherds. It was our experience that for what we needed, that they brought the best of kind of all the range of disciplines that we teach them in. So, there are dogs who are better at tracking. There are dogs who are better at obedience and those types of things. But Shepherds, generally speaking, bring a good long line of history and good breeding and
the genetics.
Clarity in the work for sure. Good genes. Nice.
So I'm a big dog lover. I had to geek out a little bit on it. So
me too.
Like we don't have kids. Like Calvin he has his own Instagram, Calvin the Coonhound. So he's a big part of our lives. I mean, awesome. God forbid when his time passes, my wife is not going to do well. But hey, let's go back on a positive here. Part of your bio, which is what really attracted me to want to work with you and have you come on and talk to you more, is listen, I'm all about promoting healthy companies. That naturally comes out of just good, genuine podcast stuff like this. But the thing, back to your wife, like, what's the backstory on that? Like, obviously you're a health and fitness nut, but that was not your personal trigger from your own lifestyle was not what triggered, obviously, trying to figure out this entrepreneurial mission that you're on now, right?
No. So I felt like, my wife was on the job too, 27 years, police officer. She was in a pretty significant car accident on the job where she suffered, incredible amount of soft tissue, but also disc issues and ultimately some debilitating back issues as she hit her 40s. And she's athletic, she's almost 6 foot, was a basketball player and a runner. And over time, she just couldn't do these things that she loved anymore, and incredibly disciplined as well around nutrition and those types of things. But as we both hit our 40s, your hormones shift, and she started to acquire unwanted weight. And it wasn't for lack of dieting, trying every single thing. There were times she was down to 600 to 800 calories per day, and the weight was still coming on. And we all go through these different scenarios where, your metabolism's turned off when you have limited calories. The reality is, if you continue that kind of thing long enough, not only are you unhealthy, but your body will shed the weight versus putting it on. And so she tried everything, which led me, I said, I felt like it was my responsibility to figure it out on her behalf. And I knew that there was a lot of remedies out there, natural organic remedies that people were using successfully that aren't in mainstream business. Certainly they're not medications and those kinds of things, but the evidence is just overwhelming at how well these things worked. And so, this was the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, being active and enjoying, time in retirement. And so I felt like it was my responsibility to figure it out. And so I just went on a significant research mission and finally put together a combination of organic spices and herbs that seemed to start to work for her. And so we changed up her eating protocol. We gave her this home brewed tea every morning and changed up her afternoon and evening meal. And suddenly it just started to peel off. And so I was like, this works. And then, so we gave it some time, and this was 4 or 5 years ago. She ended up losing 54 pounds, and has kept it off this, for the last 5 years. And so we knew that at that point, after the first 6 months, when she had pretty significant results, enough so much that we tested it out on a few other of our friends. And one guy, blew her results out of the water. He drives a bread truck for a living, and he managed to lose 84 pounds. So
hopefully he's not eating that bread.
Yeah. So,
hopefully he's just driving the truck. So
yeah. But can you imagine being around fresh bread all day and trying to lose weight? I feel like that's, a significant accomplishment. And so, so we knew we were on to something. I mean, it was my wife who pushed me. She said, like, listen, you've got to get this out to the rest of the world. I don't care what it takes. And, I was reluctant. I was working my job. I loved it. I was catching bad guys. I was the team leader of our SWAT team. And, but I'd always enjoyed a side hustle as well. And so, I continued to pursue it, but then it just got to be so big that it came down to having to make a choice, which is a nice position to be in. So
now, when you say that choice, there's two things I heard there towards the end. Obviously, side hustle, which I love that term, and obviously the hard choice. So let's hit first on the side hustle.
Yeah,
I grew up in an entrepreneurial family and wanted nothing to do with it. So
wow.
I mean, I was a farm kid, and my dad always worked for himself, and I saw the struggles. I'd see good years, bad years. But the guy always found a way to keep a roof over our heads, kept us fed. So but I was like, no, I'm going to be something different. I'm going to leave the farming world behind. I'm going to go chase corporate dreams. Did that in my 20s and was burning out and wasn't happy. But during that time, I had side activities, but I never called them side hustles. Cause like, oh, okay. I'd have a corporate gig, but I'd go teach spinning class at 6 a.m. because I'm a health and fitness nut. That'd be my morning coffee before going to work. Right. Or I had good friends and wasn't really heavily into dating back then. So I was like, oh, great. I'll go bounce at a bar, just do some security type stuff. So, but then after firefighting and really just keeping in mind that I was like, okay, well, what if I have this free time? Like we all have the same 24 hours in a day, right? But
sure.
What are you doing with the time that's not being well organized? So that's when I discovered these side hustles. It's like, oh, okay, well, why not invest a little bit of time into trying to figure out, could this work? Could that work? Or if nothing else, just grow your mindset around business and understanding this. Because like for you, for example, you ended up getting into creating an organic, products, nutritional style company. Not everybody might go down that path. Maybe you create your own online development company. I don't care. But the point is that side hustles are where it's at. It's like, you get to do it part-time, fit it in when you can. And then eventually, which I heard from you, is if it grows and it's doing well and it looks like it could be sustainable, okay, well, now let's go to that rock and the hard place, right? Let's decide, okay, do I retire and go all in? And that's what I'm looking to hear now. So obviously, did you already have plenty of time in on the police force? Were you able to retire? What happened there?
Well, I had to resign. It wasn't, I wasn't eligible for retirement. I was too young, and too young between years of service and what they call an 80 factor to go to pension. I mean, you have to be 50, a minimum of 50 years old to even go to pension. And so I'd left 5 years ago now. And it became a decision. It just was, it grew so quickly and so exponentially that, but it was hard regardless to make that decision, because I made decent money. I made over 6 figures a year. I was in a leadership role. I loved catching bad guys. It was a lot of fun. But ultimately made the decision to believe in myself and my ability to run a company. It's something that I'd always wanted to do. And so it just felt like the compulsion, the desire was pulling me so hard that it was time.
That's interesting. So you said it was something you always wanted to do. Now
Yes.
you're former military, you're police, like these are, you know, first responder level career positions. A buddy of mine who's former special forces, I had him on years ago. He was like, dude, he's like, it gets easy. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, well, no, he's like, once you've been doing this a while, you're on that path. It's very clearly defined.
Yeah.
And he said, he's like, as you advance down that path, maybe you're not going into the field as much as you are anymore, or going deployment. So it's like you lose some of the adrenaline junkie components. And now you've got this clean path. And to be fair, he's like, it can make you very good money and you can be advancing into these very high level positions. But he's like, for him, he's like, it got boring. And he said, still love what I did, but I was missing some of the spark. And for him, he started his own side hustle, got his own business going too. And he's like, that re-fired it up. And like, I'm all on fire, right? So it's like, that's what I'm hearing from you. So,
oh yeah, there's no question. I mean, after tactical, I mean, you have a lifespan in the team leader role, you know, which is typically 5 years in the TL role. And, so it was going away no matter what. I was going back, as a sergeant in charge of the canine unit, which is good. But even that role had shifted somewhat to a more administrative role rather than an operational role. And I'm just not designed to be in a position where, you know, I don't get to make my own decisions and be accountable for those decisions. You know, that when you run a tactical team, there's not many people that are you know, in making those decisions and critical incidents that are life or death decisions. And so when that goes away, you know, yeah, you can progress and you can go into commander roles and those kinds of stuff, but largely those are administrative in nature, and you really are relying on the experts around you to provide you with information. And I felt like leaving the operational side was a bit of a letdown. And so when the opportunity came to run my own business, something that I wanted to do, you know, even as a kid, my path just changed directions. I just knew it was time. It just like, I can't even describe.
Well, what started the itch for you? You said, because you said like, oh, well, it's something I'd always kind of wanted to do or figure out. Like, when did that start itching?
I just had always had this desire as a young person. You know, I would be inventing things, and I would be creating and, you know, thinking about better ways to do things. And really what happened for me at an early age, I would have ended up much younger, probably going into some form of business for myself. But I was a dad at 19 and married. And so I felt it was my responsibility.
You and I are very different.
Yeah. So, you know, my daughter, who, you know, is now 29, works in my company.
Nice.
But for me, it was, you know, I felt like I had a responsibility to ensure that she was looked after, you know, my son was looked after, that we had predictable income. And I love public service. There, man, you know, you will never hear me say anything bad about people who are committed to serving their country or their community.
It's a special sacrifice.
Sure is. Yeah. And I wish more people understood what it takes. Take the politics out of public service and what happens in, you know, senior levels of police departments and senior levels of government and that kind of thing, but just on an individual level, and the work that these members do in behind the scenes quietly without any acknowledgement, serving their community beyond the service. It's, people would be shocked. You know, I wish the press would cover it, you know, more.
I agree, especially in this country right now here in 2020. It's a hot mess. I said it before we started the show.
Sure. Yeah.
I can't stand politics. I tell people all the time, I don't care what party you're a part of. We don't talk about politics in the show. All I ask people is like, whether it's the calm before the storm, you're in the storm, or hopefully let's bring about the calm post storm.
Yeah.
That's all I care
Yeah.
about. So now our election's done. I'm like, please, let's find ways to start working together.
Oh, yeah.
Find ways to remind yourself that people who choose to serve in public service sacrifice a lot. I mean, I have a chapter in my book coming out. It's all about, until I did the firefighting thing, I never worked in a job where brotherhood and sisterhood mattered so much. Like,
yeah,
literally, I mean, we're fighting 16 hours a day on the side of a mountain, fighting wildfires, and you have to become so cohesive. You may not like that person. You might have woke up on the wrong side of the bedroll underneath the stars camping that morning, but you put that stuff aside and you're there to protect each other, keep each other alive, and get the job done. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, 6 foot, 5 foot, don't care how tall you are. Like, it doesn't matter.
No, it's very, very unique mindset, and it's a very unique calling. And you know, it sometimes is just nice for these places to be recognized, you know, rather than beat up. It's not easy.
So did you pull some of that into creating PureLife Organics? I'm very intrigued. Like, if you can call them mission statements, value statements, whatever, but like, is some of that built into that? Because I can't help but assume it is. I mean,
yeah, it's and you know, from two standpoints. I mean, healthy people, healthy planet is what we stand for, and so, you know, in addition to the work we do with the planet, and you know, the work that we do with the Wounded Warrior Project, contributing proceeds that way, from just a desire to serve our customer. That's what we're about. I mean, I tell people, you know, we build our business the same way I would plan a hostage rescue, and that's from success first, right? So a successful mission, a successful customer, and then you build it backwards. You plan backwards from there. And so it's very, the world of business and the world of tactics is so similar in a lot of ways. It's just and a relatively easy transition, aside from some of the administrative you know, focus around numbers and logistics and those kinds of things. From a mindset standpoint, it's very, very similar.
Well, and I love the fact you brought the Wounded Warrior, but because I haven't done some screen sharing during the show here yet, but for the video watchers, I also love as a former wildland firefighter, I love your supporting of reforestation as well. So was this added after the Wounded Warrior initiative, or?
The two came around the same time. So we think it's critical to make our money matter. And I don't think it's the responsibility of individuals. I think it's the responsibility of corporations to do this on the behalf of people, use profits to facilitate initiatives that are very meaningful. And so for us, we wanted to do it a little more cutting edge, and that's when
I'd say so. You got a drone option involved here. I mean,
yeah. So that's when we fund reforestation, the companies have to be using drone reforestation. It's more efficient. They do it, you know, 6 to 8 times faster.
Well, plus, is that authorized to go into the legit wilderness areas? Because I know from serving in fire, there was wildfires we were on that we could not bring in our traditional chainsaws because they use combustible fuels. So if we were fighting a wildfire in a legit wilderness zone, you got to bring in the old bow saws and cut that tree down while it's on fire. There's no motors, nothing.
So after the wildfires are done, you know, this is when drone replanting takes place. So they'll put up a drone swarm. You know, in the US, Drone Seed is one. Here in Canada, we have Flash Forest that we fund, and then out in Australia, after the wildfires there's Airseed Tech that we fund. So you know, they go in behind with these massive drones, and they put up swarms, and they can do it so much faster. You know, that's the only way in my opinion, that we will do something near term in my lifetime that will have an impact. So
it's impressive. I mean, to say
yeah,
the least. I mean, these guys aren't, that is a big drone, by the way. It's like 2 people carrying this thing. It's like the size of like 3 people.
yeah, that's Drone Seed's drone, and they're unique builds, and they are above FAA requirements. And so Drone Seed's very proficient at getting FAA certification to go into these areas and do the jobs that they do.
It's impressive. I love the, because like, it's funny you said how corporations should make their money matter.
Yeah.
So for the past, well, up until this past year, the past 4 years, I was going to a entrepreneurial, I guess you're going to call it an event out west in California. They would move it back and forth from San Diego to Las Vegas, but it was called Thrive, Make Money Matter.
Yeah.
And,
so that's Cole Hatter.
Yeah. You know, Cole?
Yeah. Cole Hazard and group that I'm in. And so
that's where, dude. Oh man, I've had Cole on the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cole. Oh yeah. I'm in their Facebook groups. Oh, dude. All right, I didn't even know. I should have had you on sooner. Well, so their event helped change how I do business. That explains it. You know what? Because I found you because of Command Your Brand, and they're all interconnected in that circle too. So now it all makes sense. Oh, that's why you're awesome. So,
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So that was important stuff when I started to meet these groups, you know, in these masterminds, and that was when it clicked. It was like, okay, it's our responsibility to do more. Like, you know, we can be as successful as we want, but if we're not contributing in a meaningful way, it's time and money wasted.
Well, you'll appreciate this. So I had already read the book, great business author, Michael Michalowicz. One of his first books was called The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, but then he came up with the Profit First formula for entrepreneurs. So that book's now been re-released twice. He's got other books out now too, but I incorporated that for my business. Long story short is that most entrepreneurs wait until like the end of the year to run their balance sheets and figure out if they have any profits, and then finally pay them some of that. Yeah. And then he's like, no, he's like, entrepreneurs need to find a way to enjoy their success throughout the year. You should be paying yourself your profits first, ergo the book. But then, then I went to Thrive, Make Money Matter. It was the second year it ever launched. And I was out there in San Diego and I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I already set up this special account where I was hard coding at the time. Only 1% of my gross income was going for nonprofit. I had a nonprofit account and then I had a profit first account. And the Thrive, Make Money Matter is the one that taught me to do the nonprofit account. I said, okay, wait a minute. Even if it's only 1%.
Yep.
As my company grows, the 1% going to nonprofits grows with it. Like your income grows, your nonprofits grow. It was like that was the biggest takeaway from Thrive, Make Money Matter. I was like, why haven't I done this before? And now last year I founded my own here. I don't know what you guys call it up there, but here, when you file for a nonprofit, the legal tax code is you have a 501c3 nonprofit. Okay. So now I have my own foundation. So for the past 3 years, thanks to Thrive, Make Money Matter, I had a percentage going in a separate bank account, and then I would just pick what charity I was going to give to. Yeah. Then last year I was like, wait a minute, I have a lot of my own initiatives and I like helping other charities too. So I created Fuel Foundations. So now all that account doesn't exist anymore because now it goes right into the foundation. So my business directly fuels my Fuel Foundations. So, and then Fuel Foundations is fueling other nonprofits right now. So it's so fun to
fantastic.
But like, I get all excited because I'm like, man, it's like 4 or 5 years ago, I had an idea from going to Thrive, Make Money Matter, but it didn't click until like last year. So, so he was a big influence on that too then.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, you know, we were at the mastermind. It's called 100 million.
Yep.
And so it was something that he said. I was just like, you know what, I hadn't actually considered it that way. We'd always contributed one-off here and there, but we made a commitment to say, you know, we are actually going to drive this agenda forward and see if we can get, you know, there's some very significant goals that these companies have. And so I want to push our company to push those guys towards their goals, because it really is powerfully life-changing, life-altering, planet-altering work that they're doing.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, obviously look what you're doing, right? So it makes you feel even better. Here's the best part. Like you obviously you create a company that you're trying to impact people's health thanks to trying to help your wife. But then you're also able to one up it further. Like I tell people all the time, anytime you could build a business to serve is great, right? So the definition of entrepreneurship is literally fixing a problem and getting paid for it. But like, hey, there's a problem. Nobody fixed that yet. Or they're not doing it the way I could do it. So I'm going to create a business. I'm going to serve you. I'm going to solve your problem or help you solve your problem. And yes, I'm going to get paid for it, but that's entrepreneurship. That's the whole point. But then if you could one up it even further and then find a way to align with these nonprofit initiatives and giving back along the way, it just, I know for me, it fuels my fire because I'm like, when you're getting stressed out, you're like, wait a minute, there's a bigger picture here. We're doing right.
Totally.
Yeah. Does your daughter align with all that stuff too? Everybody in the company, they're all like
our whole team. Yeah. I mean, we're big on shared vision and, you know, even people that we've brought on, cause we do it so quietly. Like humility is such a, mainstay in public service. And we try not to
have a chapter on that. It's called, Getting Humble.
But it's hard to, convey that message, you know, on these various platforms without having to do a certain amount of promotion around it. And so, you know, even when we've brought people onto the company, it's not until sometimes after that they realize that this is our larger mission, because we just want them aligned from a values perspective, and it naturally flows to our initiatives, you know, and everybody gets behind it.
I do tell people that when I do my brand consulting for my clients, I say the same thing. I'm like, guys, like, what if you dig deep enough to the point where you got that one spark that you were missing this whole time, but it's the spark to like that cozy campfire. It just draws everybody in. So obviously pre-COVID, whatever you want to do, but it's like, okay, normally if I'm out camping with some mountain biking and hiking friends, like, you know, the sun starts setting, we build a fire. And what does everybody do? They're drawn to the fire, you know, to enjoy the warmth, have some stories, maybe have some beverages, whatever there's going on. But like, there's that cohesiveness. Everybody's there for the same purpose. They're enjoying the same things. And if you can get everybody aligned, it just connects, man. It's just,
it's the power for sure.
Yeah. So I will tell you, I was going through some of your products and stuff, and I got a kick out of, it's interesting because you're using things that everybody is hearing about in the mainstay. So like, for example, some people may call it turmeric, whatever you want to do that, cinnamon, black pepper, those components in some of your products. I already know from all of my health research, it's like, dude, those are naturally occurring anti-inflammatory, beneficial components of Mother Nature. So obviously makes perfect sense why you're working with them, right? I tell people all the time, like, have you ever tried just putting cinnamon on if you're a big, you know, full fat Greek yogurt, right? If you're going to do that, like throw some cinnamon on that. It changes it up.
Very good blood sugar stabilizer.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a powerful spice, and to really see what these spices can do, because, you know, I know that people tend to think, you know, that it's big swings that you know, are the game changer. It actually is, you know, 0.5%, 0.25%. That minuscule amount is what causes the big swing metabolically.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, like it's shocking what simple additions, thoughtful additions can do to change the way you feel, the way you look, the way your body functions. You know, your entire system is rebooted just through the good formulation of quality ingredients.
Yeah, a colleague / a client of mine, he owns the trademark NSNG, which is no sugar, no grains. I don't know if you ever heard of Vinny Tortorich. He was the
I haven't.
Trainer to one of the top trainers to the stars out in LA. Like all the famous movie people used him. So, but anyway, so I mean, now he's developed a vitamin company, a coffee company, and a nut butter company. So it's funny how all these years later, that's what he's doing now. And he's like 58. So he's not even old yet. But the point is, it's like something as simple as removing sugars and excessive sugars and grains intakes out of your diet, which in this country is rampant. I mean, and then obviously other things like Dr. Kate Shanahan's a great influencer in the the seed oils, like removing vegetable oils they're not designed to handle high heat out of your,
right.
All these components. And but I tell people, like, yes, it's good to take quality, healthy supplements, but don't forget the other basic fundamentals of your nutrition that you don't realize got bastardized over all these years, at least here in this country, because we have the SAD diet, the standard American diet that a lot of other countries started following. And I'm basically like, I'm sorry, guys, we screwed up. Please don't pay attention to our country. We're we're a hot mess when it comes to this. And I don't know if you have any positions on that. I will at least speak to that as an American citizen of the United States of America. Like, we don't have everything as dialed in as people think it is. So
it's just been an interesting, 100 years, the evolution of food and speed and convenience and what that does. I mean, you look at the obesity rate in the country and that tells the story. You don't,
It's funny you said 100 years too, because we crowdfunded a movie last year. It's available on Amazon in Canada too. It's called Fat, a documentary, and it was Vinny's movie. We crushed it. It was like top downloads on iTunes, everything. It's still out there. We're about to release a new version, Fat 2, for 2021. But the point is, he went back 150 years of what has happened. And I tell people look at history, look at what we've done, and then look where everything shifted. And then his whole point is, with all the scientists he had on the movie, and the doctors are like, just go back before we started making those mistakes. And you can unravel a lot of this stuff. It's not crazy, hocus pocus stuff here, right?
It's small shifts. It really is. Like it doesn't have to be this mindset shift that's extraordinary. It's just small shifts, but it's challenging to move people along in their thought processes, and there's a lot of stress that's involved in society today, and so that's had pretty significant impact on people's hormonal profile. And so at PureLife Organics, we just wanted to give people something that they could use on a daily basis that tasted good, because I'm a picky eater, and had a decent impact on whether it's their immune system, whether it's some anti-inflammatory properties, or one of our most important, sleep.
Thank you. I'm a big advocate for this. I've had a lot of sleep experts on. I got the blue blocking glasses here, like everything. And I always tell people, like, and you can speak to this, right? Your body's most peak levels of recovery and healing are in your sleep. You guys learned this from the military. I mean, I didn't know what excessive stress was until firefighting, because when you do like 2 weeks straight assignments, no days off on a wildfire for 16 hours a day. Granted, by the time you go to chow, make it back to fire camp, lay out your bedroll, 16 minus 24, you only got 8. So you're lucky if you get 5 to 6. And that accumulated exhaustion by the end of a firefighting season, the end of that summer, you pay for it. It's stress, and it's not good. So
we had a saying in the Army was, when in doubt, rock out. Anytime you could find it, you did your best to try and find it, particularly on exercise. But, it's where all the regeneration in your body happens during sleep. And so to, do things that reduce quality sleep, you really are doing yourself a disservice.
I agree with that. It's interesting because we always find ways to justify it, right? Like, oh, well, I had to do this and I had to do that. I'm like, well, did you have to? Was it life threatening? Like, if you have to watch that movie, like nowadays there's digital content. You just hit pause and come, like a podcast. People listen to this podcast. Like, I'll just hit pause and then go listen to it tomorrow.
Absolutely. Like I have a full shutdown sequence. My phone is on airplane mode at night. It's outside the room. I don't have blue light. I have, sound.
I use negative noise apps and stuff.
Not apps. Just this little air machine. I can't even remember what it's called, but
we're using regular fans. My wife. Yeah. I don't want my iPhone near me too. I leave it in my office here. I don't have my iPhone airplane mode. I shut the Wi-Fi off at night, the Wi-Fi router. People don't understand that. Dr. Jack Cruz is famous for teaching that to people because he's a famous neurosurgeon. It's like, guys, turn your Wi-Fi off.
It's moving through your body at night for sure.
Yeah. And, but he's the one that taught me that. Then I was like, I'll just actually, I forgot the brand. It's like a Vornado. It's like a little fan. It's got 2 speeds in it. We have
that's exactly
table. I just turn the fan on.
Yeah. We have something very, very, very similar. And it's just a nice sound. And then, whatever supplements that you like. For me, magnolia bark, magnesium.
Yep.
Oh, it's, 250, 300 milligrams a night. I can literally feel the wave of sleep coming over me. I'll get into bed at 8 and I'll be asleep by sometimes 8:05. My wife she's so jealous. She's like, it's a gift. I mean, hers is more pain related, managing back pain. And so her sleep comes a little bit longer. But even last night, she said we're in a different house now. And she's like, it's the best sleep I've had since I've been here. So
that's awesome.
We focus on that relentlessly. That's when all your weight loss happens. That's when your memories are regenerated. That's when your cells are regenerated.
Synaptic pathways are being healed, or new ones are still being created. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, listen, we are coming towards the end of our slot. I've been having a blast with you, by the way. So I can't believe we ended up connecting over Cole Hatter and Thrive.
It's amazing.
I was not ready for that. I was like, what? You see, that shows how great you surrounded yourself with the right people. And it makes me feel better about who I've surrounded myself with too. So, well, listen, I mean, as we're coming to the end of the show, I asked my guest co-host to kind of help close the show out. Like, he used to call it final words. Now I just say, hey, is there an all-encompassing like mission statement or message behind everything you're doing? So people forget all this. I mean, obviously, again, everything's be linked in the show notes, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to PureLifeOrganics.com and easily research the company. He's got a great site. I showed some of it earlier with all their nonprofit initiatives, but what is next for you? What is there an all-encompassing statement that is kind of behind everything you guys are doing right now?
Other than what I already stated, healthy people and a healthy planet, that really is what drives me each and every day. That's the first thing I focus on in the morning is achieving that mission. And, just trying, I know that when we are able to improve people's quality of life, that in turn, that affects exponentially more people. And so we're just committed to that mission.
I love that. I love the fact you get the family involved and everything. So that's pretty cool. So listen, hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye out the air. Ladies and gentlemen, we had some fun today. He's got one heck of a backstory, as you definitely heard in the first half of the show. And that's why I always like to give you as much information behind somebody, behind the person behind the brand, because we all come from different walks of life. And I always like to get you guys a little more inspired or a little bit more motivated behind what you could be doing next. So I think one of the biggest personal takeaways I took out of everything that he shared with us today is also, it's the little things. Stop trying to make these massive leaps and these huge leaps and bounds, because they're much harder to try and execute. There's a much wider breadth of mistakes and errors along the way. And he kind of reiterated that you guys don't need to do huge, significant shifts right away. And it's a lot more sustainable if you start chipping away at it little by little. And I've seen the same thing with weight loss, weight gain, bodybuilders, you name it. It's the little things, they all add up. So, and obviously definitely in the business world. So ladies and gentlemen, again, thanks for tuning in. Remember, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. And I'm going to share one last time here. This will all be linked in the show notes, PureLifeOrganics.com. And again, ladies and gentlemen, Todd said it best, man. Former Army, former SWAT, Canine. The guy cares a lot about organic health. Just keep giving back, keep helping others. And whether it's his company, my company, or anybody else's out there, we all have a choice in what we're doing in this world. So please make positive steps, put positive messaging out there, and let's all keep healing the world and our fellow mankind together. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, you too can live the fuel. We'll talk to you guys again soon.